Doctor.
Yes, please.
Hello, doctor. Good morning.
Yes, Dennis.
I think we should have a timer.
Okay. How many groups are there?
Doctor, I was requesting.
How many groups do we have, Dennis? Hello, Dennis.
Oh, sorry,
As
doctor.
Dennis
I was speaking on mute.
Dennis, you're saying you're responding to Doctor?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I think in the interest of time, as you count the number of groups, I can start off, right?
Yes, please. That for now, I think let's.
So,
can you give-
doctor,
yes, please.
we had 10 groups.
10 groups. Okay, so if we give each group maybe 10 minutes.
So initially we had 10 groups.
Should we now give Teresa, let's give each group 10 minutes for
Doctor,
presentation.
I was saying that initially we had 10 groups.
Okay. And now?
And things have changed along the way because there are new members that have joined. So the list that I shared with you has since changed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but we are in that range.
Okay, if you can kindly share with me the new list.
So I have 10 minutes. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is, please.
Okay, the article we handled was in line with evaluation of compliance of public service development programs with the government enterprise architecture.
Okay.
So the research area that we identified in this line was the alignment of existing resources with information and communication technology investments. Investments to ensure national and international interoperability and the guidelines that facilitate this implementation. Then the research problem was the fact that many government programs do not adhere or they are not able to align themselves and to follow the government enterprise architecture. However, I noticed we did not formulate it in terms of a question because from the guidance you've been giving, the research question has to end with a question mark, right, Doctor?
Yes, please. Okay. Well, at the time when I gave the assignment, we hadn't done much of this, so don't worry about that. The important thing is you pick out the research problem area.
Okay.
Okay.
So the difficulty, thank you so much, Doctor. The difficulty for government agencies to align public service development programs with the structured information and communication technology initiatives to ensure national and international interoperability using guiding frameworks like the government enterprise architecture. So from here, we started denoting it with the acronym of GARE. And in here, we defined what GARE is. Being government enterprise architecture is a comprehensive framework that outlines the structure and functions of a government agency or department in a standardized way. Then we went on to look at the difficulty, why most government agencies are failing to adopt to the framework. And some of the points we noted was the bureaucracy, then the unrealistic objectives, cultural clashes, and inadequate governance models. And this, if in relation to within Uganda, you find that very many projects at the end of the day that government implements go left and right, and they fail to fully get implemented because the structures are not well aligned and communicated, and there is a lot of decision makers, and you find that a program literally fails at the end. Then we looked at the benefits of public agencies adhering to the GARE, and we have the benefits would be quality assurance and proper business modeling. We also did the stakeholder interest, but the other question that was posed, these were all just the supporting slides. But the third question that was asked was, we looked at, these were all supporting based on what was picked from the article. Okay, you talked about the research methods that were used to gather data. And here we noted that the research methods were cross-sectional, whereby there was qualitative through observation. Qualitative methods seek to answer the questions related to the how, the who, the what, when, why, to understand the nature or quality of the phenomenon. And here we defined what qualitative research uses, being in-depth interviews, focus groups, questionnaires, and surveys. So in this particular article that we did, article indicates that to evaluate the state of compliance to GARE was guided by previous reports written by the following bodies. So in this case, it was the bodies that were their findings that were used. So it was like the secondary data that was used to derive the compliance. Okay. Because the National Audit Office, according to the article, had given their opinion, and also some of the works was picked from the reports given by the United Nations.
Yes.
So those were the consultations done. And the key findings from these particular reports, management direction setting for programs is mostly driven by internal efficiency, improving logic instead of optimizing administrative burden. And then the reports also showed that the objectives that are usually set by government bodies are usually unrealistic. They are so vague and are not in relation to the everyday activities, or they aim at a very high target, and at the end of the day, they fail to achieve anything. Then data is not properly described. Tools to guide and draw up the GARE descriptions are not well set at the beginning, and the governance model lacks steering power and authority. Okay, that's about it. Thank you so much. That's from Group H.
Thank you so much, Group H. And Although they haven't mentioned their methodology, I think it should be systematic literature review because it's secondary data that they have used.
Systematic literature review.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't mention it actually in their writing, but I think that's what it should be. But thank you, Teresa, for that. Could we have another group? We have quite a number of groups.
Yes, let me present on behalf of
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Benson and Moses. Sorry, Benson?
Yes, let me present on behalf of Group B.
Group B, okay.
Yes, morning, Doctor, and everyone.
Yes, Moses?
Yes. Kindly, I don't know who is presenting the shared in the screen. I want to share mine.
This is now Group B.
Yes, let me share. Yes. We chose an article that is multitasking with information technology. Why not just relax? Yes, in this article, the researchers were investigating the experience of multitasking on hedonic activity experiences. Hedonic meaning leisure. Yes, you were trying to bring out an idea whereby if you are multitasking with
Moses,
IT gadgets, you have a phone, you are listening to music, or you are attending some activities.
Sorry,
How
Moses.
will that affect your pleasure?
Hello,
your
Moses.
pleasure? Yes.
Moses.
Hope I'm audible.
Moses.
And according to the question,
can Moses hear me? Can
the problem research area, then the
Moses, can you hear me first? Can you first hold on a minute? Moses.
Yes.
Yes, could you put your presentation, could you put your slides in presentation mode so that what your presentation is clear?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I was saying that doctor requested us to identify research area, then the research problem, question is, and then the method and approach. And according to this article, first of all, a research area is a broad scope where your research follows. For instance, if you are searching for these guys, they were talking about multitasking with IT gadgets. And according to the article, that the area that he was falling into is human-computer interaction.
Moses, David is asking if you can, it's possible
someone
to
is
zoom
saying
in. It is still not very, very clear.
Let me try to see.
Moses, kind of stop sharing. Kind of stop sharing again, and I show you. Okay. You share your screen. You share your PPT document.
I share the document.
Yeah, right now you're not sharing your screen. Kind of share your screen, but not in presentation mode. And I show you where to click for it to appear. So you see near, put it to 100, then click on presentation. Actually, you could go just that button before the zooming, the negative zooming, the button. Very good.
I don't know why, but it will not move.
Benson, kindly stop sharing. Let me show you what you need to do. You share your screen again. Share your screen. So you see where you've been zooming, there is a minus and a plus. So there is that command before a minus, that one. Yeah. I'm seeing end of slide. So could you navigate using your navigation keys on keyboard? All right.
Hopefully it's clear now.
It's not clear, but we can proceed.
Maybe the font sizes was small. We have to maybe zoom in past 100. If you can try that. Maybe I put at 120. Is it okay?
Yeah, you can try it. Moses, you have a lot of distraction in your background.
That one you have to bear with us for some time because we are getting the meeting that is taking place at the far end. I think you can hear me as I speak. Is it okay?
Yes.
Yes. So let me just look very fast. So I was saying that the research area is within human-computer interaction. So the researchers were trying to explore a topic in an area where they are looking at how human beings interact with computers, that is ICT gadgets, and how that has an effect on on their pleasure or hedonic experiences. Then in the research problem, yes, the article addresses the potential negative impact of multitasking with information technologies on hedonic experiences. The aim was to understand whether or how engaging with IT during multisensory activities diminishes the pleasure and emotional satisfaction typically derived from these experiences. The central issue is whether the additional cognitive load from multitasking affect the quality of the hedonic experiences. If I'm to explain briefly, that this researcher wanted to know whether when you do multitasking with IT gadgets, that has an effect, a negative effect on how your pleasure would be. So, and that's where they had to that was the problem. This was identified in somewhere in the article So I don't know whether we can do that. It was during the introduction. During the introduction, there was a gap that was outlined. Yes, if I can read there shortly, it said that I'm just going to read almost the last. However, several studies have conveyed the idea that technology-related multitasking has an adverse effect on individual performance and attention. So during the introduction, during his research review, they outlined that as a problem, that multitasking has an adverse effect on the pleasure or hedonic experiences. And that's how we paraphrase this problem or in this article. Then under the research question is simply the question is all the topics, all the area, what drives the research, what does the researcher want to answer, what is the broad knowledge that or the question that this person wants to answer. So for this article, the questions were direct. They were not such a thing like trying to paraphrase or things like that. He had two questions. Mostly from the article that we saw or that I have seen, there are always at least two research questions, not only one. There is a main research question. The main research question always looks at the broad scope. Yes, it is always assumed that you ask a question that is as broad as you can, so that you can explore that phenomenon to a broad scope. Then the sub question narrows it down to make sure that you are focused on a certain on your topic. So for these people, the first question is, to what extent does IT-related multitasking influence hedonic experiences? So this question investigates the overall impact of multitasking with technology on an individual's enjoyment and pleasure during hedonic activities. So that was the main question that was addressed by the article. And then the sub question was, that this effect vary according to individual traits such as personality. This question explores whether the impact of multitasking on hedonic experiences differs based on individual's personality or characteristics. So according to the article, those are the questions that were guiding their research. And if from the article, so the doctor did not ask us to go that direction, but from these questions, the researcher went on to identify some theories that support these questions, and then he generated hypotheses within that line that will be tested after the study. But I will not go into that because of time. And so let us go straight to the research method or approach. This doctor has been sharing with us about research approaches, methods, etc. Somehow, somewhere, he mentioned about experiment. So this study also employed laboratory experiment or ectodermal activity automatic face analysis and electroencephalogram. So to comment a little about this, for those who did not take this article, this gentleman did a practical in the lab. They had a chair that moves. Then they could put some people in a chair and then make sure they give them their phones, and then they did tests within the lab, which was a pure laboratory test that was employed, and then they were recording. After the test, other things were recorded live, like automatic facial analysis. They were analyzing how the face moves, and then they were also studying how the rate of lilies of sweat, that is the measurement that you are making to measure whether there is an effect. So in our study, we identified from the article that it was a laboratory experiment that was employed. So this method allows for the controlled manipulation of variables and precise measurement of their effects on participants, providing a structured environment to assess the impact of multitasking on emotional responses and enjoyment. So then the approach that he was used is they used a deductive approach. Deductive, if you are to remember when the doctor was sharing with us on deductive and the addictive. So when you want to begin from these people started from the questionings, then the theories, hypotheses to go on to do tests and then find out the results. That is the deductive approach. The inductive is opposite. You don't have anything. Then you begin by doing an investigation. You get the data. Then you do an analysis. After the analysis, you identify patterns. Then from the pattern that you identify, you come up with a theory. You develop a theory. So from it is down, it is opposite to deductive. But for this one, it was a deductive approach to develop the theory and formulate the hypothesis. It employed the multi-method strategy in completing both explicit measures such as self-reporting questionnaires and implicit measures, including neurophysiological instrument to capture participants' real-time experiences during and after the experiment. I think that's what we were able to extract from the article. Yes, it has been quite long since we read the article, so some concepts we are forgetting them. Yes, but that's how we managed to summarize the article and extract what doctor requested us from the article. Yes, unless if there is any question, but I request to end there. Yes.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you. Thank you, Group B. Can we have the next group?
Group A?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
I believe it's Group A that is coming on next.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, please.
Doctor, after Group A, Doctor, Group C is ready.
Okay, Group C is right after Group A. So 10
can
minutes.
Group A? All right, can I advance my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, let me put it in presentation mode. So this is Group A, and the members were myself, Arthur, Blaise, Rachel, and Andrew. The question we looked at was the paper we looked at was multitasking with information technologies. Why not just relax? And according to what we found in the article, the research area, we identified it as IT-related multitasking. Because this is where they identified the gap. This is because they looked at the research in this area, and they saw that this research had previously focused on in a different direction. So for them, they chose to still do this research, but rather looking at hedonic activities, leisure activities, not in the formal kind of setting, but rather in the leisure. So we identified this as the research area. And perhaps maybe one thing maybe I could hint on that maybe for further discussion is the difference between research area and research field. Maybe Doctor will give more guidance on that. Next, the problem.
Sorry, Arthur, could you go back to where you said you could give more? I could give more guidance. You said.
Yes. When we were looking at what research area is, we came across another term called research field. And okay, like from research, it was suggested that the research area also suggests is it like what were they, like techniques for like theory to suggest theories. The research area also suggests like theories, something like that. I can't rephrase it, or like frameworks, yeah. But then there's also the research field. So what we come up with a number of topics. We had HCI, human-computer interactions, IT multitasking, and then IT. But then we saw that IT was actually too broad. And so we narrowed down to IT-related multitasking, basing on what the paper was suggesting. Because their focus was on IT-related multitasking, but now in a different direction. That's why we narrowed down to IT-related multitasking.
Yes, yes.
Yes, so those terms were kind of confusing.
Okay,
That's what
but
I would say.
research
Mhm.
field and research area is the same thing. This research is
Oh,
definitely in the field of human-computer interaction, but of course,
okay.
more specifically, it's looking
Mhm.
at our as users. The fact that we now have technologies that are focusing on giving us pleasure. What is that effect? They want to measure the actual effect of the amount of pleasure we receive when we're multitasking. And of course, this research, it's like, just to give you a simple example, if I decide to use my smartphone as I'm driving, the fact that I'm deriving pleasure from that act, what is the most likely effect? It's that I'm going to have less attention to a task like driving. And so their objective was to show the amount of pleasure it gives, and then to say, don't do this because this act give you pleasure. Avoid multitasking. The objective was to measure pleasure that is derived from using these particular apps that are designed to give you pleasure, like listening to music, going on social media, that kind of thing. That was the main objective. Definitely, it's human-computer interaction, but specifically focused on those apps which were designed to give us pleasure. But you can move on, please. You are on the right track.
All right, thank you, Doctor. So now, looking at the research problem, remember we said that after we discovered from Doctor's guidance that to identify a problem, you need to look at literature. So this, what I was saying before, actually, this problem now is specified in the paper that there were two questions that they specified, and we have rephrased them. Then to find out to what extent does eye-to-eye multitasking influence the hedonic experience, and whether that activity, that experience varies according to individual traits such as personality. So we simply rephrase these questions to put them together as one question, but they were broken down into specific questions. But this is the problem all put together. From what we discovered as well, the research used the deductive approach, and the reason is that they didn't first analyze data and then develop a theory, but rather they developed a theory basing on other theories. They developed a theory which they conceptualized and developed an hypothesis they could use now to test. So the approach was first develop the theory, then use it, not collect data and develop the theory. So the approach was deductive. I hope that's clear. With the research methods, we found that one, they use explicit measures, and this included use of questionnaires and interviews that were given to the participants to assess their emotional arousal, emotional violence, and exposure to the listed songs. And these questionnaires were administered before the experiment and after. There are other measures they used which were implicit, and among these we found the electrodermal activity, the autofacial analysis, the electroencephalography. So for these measures, actually you need a domain knowledge to understand what they're doing, like the electrodermal activity, the autofacial analysis, because they're observing these participants. They need to know what impact does it have, for example, in their brain. How are they being affected by the activities? So they're using all this to measure how these activities impact their experience, and they use this number of tests. The next session is data analysis, and why we include this was based on a certain definition we found of data analysis. Of research methods, which actually lists data analysis as a research method. So we went on ahead to also include this as among the methods they used now to analyze data. They used the questionnaires to gather information about the participants. For the neuropsychological measures, they extract data from the facial analysis from the reader. They said that the reader they were using to extract the data and analyze it. And then they use a brain analyzer which were used to filter the EEG data. And then to test the hypothesis, they ran several tests using analysis of covariance and then also analysis of variance to gain insights of that data. This is it. I don't know if members have any questions. These are the references used for the assignment. Any questions, members?
Do you have any questions? Just a few things to point
Or any
out.
contribution
Hello,
from the
Doctor.
team?
Just a few contributions, Arthur.
Hello.
Let me just give a comment, then you come in after. When I looked at your method, your research method, we have to note you included data analysis. Data analysis is part of the process of research. It's not a research method, it's part of the process of carrying out research. Their research method was laboratory experiments. Under laboratory experiments, they used several tools. So sometimes the traditional tools we know in research are questionnaires, interviews, focus group discussions, observation, that kind of thing. But you can employ other tools. So for example, they used a number of gadgets to, the ones that you mentioned, the tools that you mentioned that were measuring the brain activity, those are tools, those are research tools. They were there simply to help them pick data. But their primary research method is laboratory experiments. So underneath that, they use several tools to collect data. So I'll give you an example of my research itself. Like we said, we know that traditional tools are things like interviews, questionnaires, focus group discussions. But for me, also one tool I used was an objective style exam. It was one of the tools I used to collect data, specifically collecting data on mobile literacy levels. So you can use even you can use out of the box research tools. They're not research methods, they become research tools. But the primary research method is laboratory experiments. That's the primary research method. Data analysis is simply it's part and parcel of the process of research, because once you collect the data, you now need to analyze it to bring meaning out of it. I don't know if I make sense.
Yes, Doctor. I think also something we skipped out here, like in phrasing this, the heading here, because we should have said multi-method laboratory experiment. Though I also get that feedback you're giving us there.
Yes.
That there's a confusion between the method and the tool.
Yes, the method and the tool there, just to be very clear, just to be precise in concepts. But thank you, Steve.
Yes, Doctor.
You've done a good job. Thank you, Group A. So this is Group A, I believe.
Yes, Doctor.
Ewaza, you had a comment or question?
Actually, my comment, you have kind of absorbed it. It was in relation to the experiment part, the research method.
Yes.
Which we had thought was the multi-method, the experiment thing. So it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, could we have Group C now?
Doctor, good morning.
After Group C, it will be Group I.
Yes, okay. Group I.
Good morning, Doctor and members.
Good morning, Benson.
I hope I'm audible enough and I'm heard clearly.
Yes, you are.
Yes, Doctor, I'm Benson Msinguzi, a member of Group C, and in Group C, my members are here. We are going to do this presentation together with my group members, and as you can see, Dennis is presenting a screen, and each of us is going to have a contribution. Myself, I will moderate and also explain a few slides, and then my other members will also come in. So that is Group C, and then kindly make sure your screen fits there. I want the doctor to see the group members first. Group members.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is Group C, and those are the members. And Doctor, you gave us 2 articles, and you gave each group to choose an article of choice. And our group chose the article of Myers MD, trying to improve communication and collaboration with information technology, an action research project which filed. And that was the article of our choice, and we were required to find to bring out the research area of the article, the research problem, or the research question, and then research methodology and approach. So since we have a limited time, I'll call my colleague to come and take us on the next slide, where we are going directly to answer the questions that you required us to answer. Thank you. So my brother, come in and take us through the next slides.
I'm going to continue from there as the research area with the article.
So I think you have more than one device connecting to Zoom. That's why there is an echo. So shut down one of the devices and you should be good. Or probably you're in the same room. Are all of you in the same room?
No, Doctor. No, we are in different places.
Doctor, I'm in the same room with Thomas, so
Okay.
let him come and present from my screen.
Okay. I'm going to continue from here. So the research area was saying that the use of information technology to facilitate the communication and collaboration within organization. In other words, here the researcher wanted to see in which IT can be imposed to enhance communication and collaboration within organization and groups. So in this case, the researcher involved introducing Lotus Notes. This is a group where product facilitate communication and collaboration among senior management in a tertiary education institute in New Zealand. So here, a group where, when we talk of a group where, it is a software application that is designed to support and enhance team collaboration, communication, and coordination in terms of transferring information, for example, using emails, how you can communicate within an organization, than using the manual methods. So when we talk of research problem, here the research problem was the inefficiency of manual means of communication and collaboration within institution. And the research question was, how can information technology can solve the inefficiency of manual means of communication and collaboration within institution? One, I may ask you, what is the research problem and research question? The two are related, but somehow distinct in its concept. So when you talk of a research problem, I can say it is a general issue or concern that needs to be addressed, or a situation that requires investigation. But when you talk of a research question, it is a specific or focused query that guides in the investigation. Therefore, it should be answerable through data collection and analysis. So here the researcher was the problem of inefficiency of manual means. When you talk of manual means, we are not using technology. So that means that it could be inefficiency in terms of transferring information within the organization. So I may beg to stop from here, then I call the next presenter to continue from here about manual means of communication.
Thank you very much, my brother, for that presentation. And a member of this group, is there anything you think Thomas could have left out? A member of this group can add. Dennis, if there's anything to add. Becca, if there's anything to add.
And if so from this research, you realize that indeed manual means of communication were a challenge to this organization, in this case, an education institution in New Zealand. And so there was a need to embed technology in the way they communicate and collaborate in that organization. So there must have been a problem. So here, when we talk of manual means of communication, we refer to methods that rely on human effort. For example, face-to-face interaction. If you're to have a meeting or a class, you have to be physically present. Yeah, so it comes with quite a number of challenges. If you need to maybe write a letter, it has to be handwritten and delivered. Yeah, you have to print documents. You have to have physical movement from one place to the other. And so we identified a number of challenges that come or that are associated with the manual processes. And these include time-consuming processes. It is evident even in this research, during problem identification, where it was revealed, yeah, from the interviews conducted with the participants, that the personal assistants, yeah, spent 1 full day per week negotiating for meeting times, yeah, with the respective managers. And even themselves complained that this was really time consuming, yeah. So another thing is there is human errors. Human errors are observed in these manual processes. And as human beings, we are prone to forgetting. You will, you will ask doctor that, can I meet you maybe Tuesday to discuss my research proposal? Then you all agree, but there is nothing to remind you. So you realize that processes such as document management, workflows are discussed, yeah? So even when you look at that in that very article, some of these were discussed. So as they were bringing in technology, they identified the issue of manual documentation, workflows, and they needed them to be incorporated with the new technology that was coming on board. This in itself shows you that there was a problem with the way documentation was being handled manually. However, this was not prioritized. So the priority was focused on, or the priority was on what? On communication and coordination. Then another item, we look at difficult to track records. I've seen several talk shows where people have said that they have gone to the president's office, put their letters for president to respond to certain queries, or even requesting for a meeting, but they tell you that they have never, yeah, their letters have never been answered. When you look at government agencies, most of their processes are manual. if you're, applying, you have to manually submit in your application. So, and some of those manual documents can easily be misplaced. So tracking records becomes very difficult. You look at a situation where you can instead punch in or go into the system and search for an item that relates to what someone is looking at for. And in a twinkle of an eye, you get access to the record that you need, which is different from the manual ways of keeping documents. Then another thing is it is dependent on individual availability. You realize that these people spent more time discussing on when they can have meeting with managers. So that means that you needed to have a manager come to office, then you discuss on when to have a meeting with them. So in the event that they are not available, you will have to postpone your concerns until when that person returns to office. Then there are also security issues or security risks that are associated with manual processes of communication and coordination. So here we look at the potential for sensitive information to be exposed, mishandled, or even accessed by unauthorized individuals. You go to someone's office, maybe they excuse themselves and they have, printed of paper, on their desk. As someone goes to excuse themselves, you can easily read what is on displayed on that paper. So it comes with a lot of issues. So sensitive information can easily be exposed to or leaked, can easily leak to people who are not supposed to have access to it. Then the question of concern was on the research methodology that was used. So in our review of this document, we noted that the methodology used combined action and reflection to address a specific problem to improve a situation. So the research action was used as a methodology to answer this problem. So, and what is research action? Research action say that it is a reflective process of problem solving conducted by individuals or groups within an organization to improve their strategies, practices, and understanding. So this research action, it involves a researcher's intervention within the organization. So you realize that one of the researchers was working in that very organization, and by the time they concluded the research, that person was still within that very organization. So there is an involvement. So a researcher involves or intervenes in the organizational processes, and it helps them to generate knowledge about the process that they are undertaking. I request someone to chip in.
Yes, Dennis, thank you so much for that elaborative presentation. You've talked about the research methodology used, and I'm going to continue from there with the next slides. And you've told Doctor and members that the researcher used action research, and you've clearly explained that this involves a researcher being part of the organization, thereby identifying the problems that have to be solved by an information system. And from there, I will proceed with action research, and I am going to talk about the phases involved in action research. And these are the very phases the researcher used in that case study. That is slide 7. So the researcher used action research, and the first phase was diagnosing. And we see diagnosing involves identifying primary problems that have to be addressed within the host organization. So in this one, you identify the problems. How do you identify the problems? First of all, you can interview those who are working in the organization, and this is exactly what the researcher did. You interview them, you ask them the means they are using and how how effective they are. By this, you are looking at the factors of time. You are looking at the efficiency of the method used. You are looking at the quality of work produced, and you're also looking at the security of the data. This one you compare with what the information system you are going to introduce will solve the problems identified. And this is exactly what we see in that case study that we read in the article that was given to us. The next phase is action planning. Now, in this phase, you specify the organizational actions that should be taken to relieve or address the problems that have been identified in phase one. And in this, you'll see that there could be a number of alternatives, but you consider the best. And when we look at the case study, among the alternatives available, the researcher opted to use the Lotus Notes, introducing Lotus Notes. And what I'd forgotten to tell you is that these actions should be guided by something like a conceptual framework, so that everything is done step by step, so that the problems identified are effectively solved. Now, the third phase is about action taking, and in this is about implementation. The actions that have been arranged, or the alternative that has been chosen in phase two is now being implemented. If it is if in phase two they chose to use Lotus Notes, now in this phase they are implementing it, and that is exactly what they did. So that is the phase of implementation, making sure that what has been planned in phase two is now being implemented. Now we go to phase four. Phase four is all about evaluating or analyzing whether what you have implemented solves the problems that have been identified. So we see in this phase, the software is introduced, installed, and the participants or the people in the organization are using it. And then they are also trying to give feedback on whether the software is really solving the problems that these people were facing. Now, lastly, phase five. Phase five specifies what was learned during the action research project. And this is when knowledge gained is applied within the organization and communicated to the researchers. So after reviewing and taking note that the actions have been implemented and they are doing exactly what they are supposed to be doing, the researcher now will make some documentation about the organization and how the software that was introduced was able to solve the problems identified. And then that documentation is shared to the research community for further reference and educating other researchers. I think that is all from the phases. My brother Abu Baker is going to elaborate more on the phases on the following slides. Abu Baker, kindly come in and take us through.
Maybe
Thank you,
before
Benson.
Abubakar comes in, I would like to explain what this Lotus Notes is. Lotus Notes is defined as a client-server application platform that was originally developed by Lotus Development Corporation and later acquired by IBM. So it combines email, calendar, task management, contact management, and web browsing features in a single interface. So that is the technology or the software solution that was implemented under phase 3, which is action taking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you so much. And Doctor, we are sorry we could have taken much of the time, but we thought it wise not to run this presentation as a one-man show. That's why you see every group member is getting involved.
No, it's
and
okay.
Now